The Trump administration is making a radical new change to U.S. policy, The Hill explains here. A senior White House official said that President Trump's administration will not insist on a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine, the longstanding cornerstone of international peace talks. A two-state solution, this is a quote from a top official at the White House, a two-state solution that doesn't bring peace is not our goal that anybody wants to achieve. Peace is the goal, whether it comes in the form of a two-state solution, if that's what the parties want, or something else. If that's what the parties want, we're going to help them. We're not going to dictate what the terms of peace will be. President Trump has very much indicated that he wants to achieve peace. Okay, I think this is horrible. There are some people on the left who disagree with me because they say, oh, well, look, it's just finally being honest. The two-state solution is not the direction we're going to go in. What I think this is a green light to Netanyahu to say, if I abandon the two-state rhetoric, you could go ahead and put those settlements in overdrive. I mean, he's already doing that. It's a wink and a nod to Netanyahu. You're going to dictate the terms of whatever you want, and we're going to support you. So Netanyahu's my ally. I don't want to create another headache, so let's just make him happy by letting him do whatever he wants, and that's the end of it. Now, some people will rightly point out, yeah, but isn't that what Obama did? Like, Obama kind of let him get away with whatever he wants too. There's a very slight difference that actually, I think, effectively made a big difference. And that difference is, under Obama, you at least still had the rhetoric of the finger wave, and you had, look, two-state solution is the goal, and that's going to happen at some point, so what I need Israel to do is to stop with the settlements. They would come out and say it from time to time. Now, Netanyahu was still getting away with doing whatever he wants. There was no legal action against him to try to stop it, and they could have lifted the veto with the UN and said, we're not going to give you all these billions of dollars we give you, and they didn't do that. So Obama was dead wrong on that aspect of it. But when you had the rhetoric that provided a disincentive enough for Netanyahu to not go balls to the wall and say, go ahead, go crazy, build as many settlements as you want, under Trump with this kind of rhetoric, that's what he's saying. He's green-lighting. Go ahead. Whatever two-state solution, don't worry about that. Build more settlements. That's what Trump is saying. So there is a difference. So under Obama, bad when it comes to Israel. Maybe in the last month he did that one good thing where he said, yeah, here at the UN, we agree you should follow international law like everybody else. How radical of you, Obama. How brave of you. They abstained, and therefore it passed that, the international community was condemning the illegal settlements and actions of Israel. But Obama was bad on Israel. This just shows me Trump is going to be even worse, be even more pro-Israel, and let them do whatever they want to the Palestinians. Now, to further address the question of two-state solution versus one state, look, I honestly believe that it'll be harder to set up a functioning one state where human rights are guaranteed than setting up two states. So oftentimes people make the argument, well, look, two states is just impossible at this point. It's dead. So why even try? And my counter-argument to that is, for as impossible as a two-state deal is, the only thing that's more impossible is a one-state deal. Because it's not, in Israel-Palestine, it's not just like apartheid South Africa, where you had the racial hatred. In Israel-Palestine, on both sides, you have ethnic hatred. Obviously not everybody in both those states. There are liberal, open-minded people on both sides, of course. But you also have deep religious hatred. And that's a whole new ballgame. There's one thing when it's just, okay, racial hatred, but, you can get over that in some respects. There have been people who have been reformed because they hated somebody for race reasons, and then you can see the light and open your eyes. Religion cuts deeper than that, man. So when you have ultra-Orthodox Jews claiming all this land is ours and it's our divine right to it because God says so, and then you have Muslim fundamentalists who say the same thing, there's no compromise possible there. So, what are you going to do? If you set up, and then how do you craft the rules of that state? What are you going to do? Proportional representation between Jews and Arabs or Jews and Muslims? Are you going to have quotas for the government? Are you going to, and we all know, if I'm a Palestinian, would I prefer an imperfect one state, say along the 67 borders, or would I prefer to be meshed in with Israel and I don't have the state of Palestine. I have the state of Israel that I'm a part of, or Israel Palestine. If I'm a Palestinian, the last thing I would want is to be part of Israel, because look at their actions all along. I mean, they've been doing fucking endless occupation all this time. And I mean, look at 2014 in Gaza with Netanyahu doing a bomb fest where he killed over 2,000 civilians, including 500 children. Over 80% civilians, according to the United Nations. That was who was killed. I don't want to become part of that fucking state. I want anything but to become part of that state. So I think, number one, the one-state deal would be hated more by the people. I think a two-state deal would be hated too by factions on both sides, but I don't think it would be as hated, if that makes any sense. And I think you would actually have a better chance of, getting human rights for Palestinians if they had their own state. And also, by the way, this sets me apart from many liberals, but sometimes, in some cases, good fences make for good neighbors. So, would I build a giant fucking fence on the borders of Israel and Palestine after a theoretical two-state deal along the 67 borders? Yes. Yes, I would. Now, again, this isn't a radical idea. So, it was actually just recently, a few years ago, that the Palestinians proposed this peace deal through Jordan at the UN, and Israel rejected it out of hand. So what I would do if I'm the U.S. president is I would basically force Israel to accept that deal. You say, well, Kyle, how do you do that? Very simple. Economic pressure. BDS. I support BDS. So the idea is we do boycotts, divestments, and sanctions on Israel. We say, first of all, you're not going to get your fucking $38 billion, which is what Obama just gave them over, I think, a 10-year period in mostly military aid. How about you get none of that? How about we officially come out in favor of a Palestinian state at the UN and we support the measure? We do those two things, and we voice support for BDS, and we put an economic stranglehold on Israel to the point where Netanyahu and the government in Israel, no matter how far right they are, they have no choice. I mean, that's what happened with South Africa. They had no choice at a certain point. So it's okay, all right, you want a deal? Let's do a deal. And then you make them take the 67 borders, which was the deal that reasonable minds on both sides had agreed to for a long time now, but you actually make it happen. So you obviously have to iron out the details and the particulars. I would say split Jerusalem, but I do think a one-state is more impossible than a two-state and would be worse for Palestinian human rights than a two-state. A one-state would be worse for Palestinian human rights than a two-state. So, but that's just my take. I know there are smart people that disagree with me and they say, no, one state is the only way and all that stuff. I just fear you're never going to get Palestinian human rights under one state because, I mean, look at how they treat the Palestinians now. I would want to become a separate entity, a separate state to get away from the way they're treated with occupation and apartheid. And I think there would always be ways where they can keep Palestinians down and not treat them as equal citizens and not give them human rights and civil liberties. So, but either way, I think we can all agree that Donald Trump saying, we're done with the two-state solution. We're giving up on that. Well, look, if you're saying that, it's not because Trump is in favor of this high-minded goal of creating a democratic, human rights-loving one state in the region. It's not because of that at all. It's because he's giving a wink and a nod to his buddy Netanyahu and saying, even though Obama was weak on you and let you do whatever you want, I'm going to actively encourage it. We're done with two states, so look, whatever peace deal they want, we will allow for. That means whatever Netanyahu tells Trump he wants to do, he goes, hey, this is the way to peace, so Netanyahu, go right ahead, buddy. So that's how I break this down, and I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's a horrible thing.